Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. I put this on the thumbnail. This is the pattern that never fails. 1 year before the halving event, then the top. And the pattern is pretty obvious that the halving will be at a higher point than the 1 year before point, and the top will be higher than halving. And every single top is higher than the previous top. I mean, it's just really that simple. You zoom out, this pattern has held ever since the beginning, has not been broken, and I don't believe we will break it. And another pattern is every halving event is higher than the previous one, and every bottom, the 1 year before mark, is higher than the previous 1 year before. So every single metric that's measurable, or every single stopping point, I should say, every single point here, everyone just forms higher and higher. Now, because of law of diminishing returns, yes, you can't have the same kind of like parabolic growth. We will start slowing down, right? But still, higher highs, higher lows, higher halvings. Every single thing is higher, right? So from now on to the halving event, which is approximately this time next year, we will probably see Bitcoin slowly rise up. To what point? I don't know, 40, 50,000. And then from that point on, we will form a new high. And where's that new high? Well, according to this person, it could be $500,000. Rather than go up by 1,000, right? Like I seen like Plan B's stock to flow, every increment is 1,000 or 10x of starting with 1,000. This one is starting from 500. And you can't dispute it because it's been right. 500, you do a 10x to 5,000, do a 10x to 50,000. You do a 10x again. Can we hit 500,000 by the end of 2025? We will see. Remember when China kicked out all the miners, supposedly? And I told you guys, China has a bigger plan, right? And now this plan is obviously now showing. Because after they kicked out all the miners supposedly, and the hash rate dropped to nothing. I know this is a little small, but the yellow, orange is the Chinese miners. Look at the hash rate once again. The hash rate has increased and picked up huge. Now, the hash rate in the United States, which is in pink, is still the largest right now. But you could see China's hash rate is ever so climbing rapidly, and soon will probably equal the United States once again. Right? Like, what's the deal there? Well, we know that China is going really pro with Hong Kong right now, right? Trying to make Hong Kong the new Web3 hub. But they're not giving up on Bitcoin either. So, I mean, China has an agenda right now, right? And of course, you got the Bitcoin halving clock, right? Measuring when the next halving event is coming up, April 2024. So, even less than I expected. I thought it was a full year. No, it's only 11 months. 11 months. And very good things happen after the halving event. Okay, that's when we get that most parabolic and most bullish run for Bitcoin and for all of crypto. So we got a little taste of that. Earlier this year. We certainly had a taste of that in 2021. But I would say that taste in 2021 was premature because of the Fed announcing that they're going to raise rates, right? So that actually kind of like stalled it. Otherwise, I think we would have had even a greater run in 2021. But I still think back about 2017, 2018, especially those last few weeks in early 2018. That was crazy time. And we'll see something like that again. There are still a lot of bulls out there thinking that, hey, 35,000 is right around the corner, especially when you see the number of holders increasing. Now you have 1 million, more than 1 million addresses holding at least one Bitcoin. That's not a coincidence. It's going up more and more and more every single day because of all the shenanigans that people are hearing about. They're like, no, I want to opt out. I want to opt out of the USD. I want to opt out of the financial system. I want to opt out of my bank. Opting out and opting into Bitcoin, right? That's what's happening. And currently, if you look at where Bitcoin is right now, and you look at, well, what happened in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, pretty similar, coming off from top, right? Forming that bottom, now recovery, but recovery is never right away, right? And the way we're going, right, we may be here a little bit longer, and then boom, we could be right back above to $50,000. But of course, long term, Kathy Wood, ARK Invest, they think this is barely scratching the surface. By 2030, Bitcoin's worst case scenario, according to ARK Invest, is $258,500. That's absolute worst case scenario. But let's say neutral, just a base case. Bitcoin should be at $682,800. Think about it. That's middle ground. And in the best case scenario, bull case, 1.5 million for each Bitcoin. We're talking about 2030, okay? We're not talking about like 2130. We're not talking about over 100 years. This is just within 7 years. According to ARK Invest, the worst case scenario in 7 years, Bitcoin is going to be at $250,000. But best case scenario, 1.5 million. And that's because they believe Bitcoin is going to suck up liquidity from all these other assets, like corporate treasuries, or nation state treasuries, or institutional investments, or digital gold. I mean, there's just a lot to pull from, right? So this is why you need to stay strong and ignore the FUD. There's a lot of FUD short term, but long term, this is where we are heading. Looking good. Looking pretty good.
So today I want to talk about Bitcoin and the start of something huge, absolutely huge. And what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the biggest Bitcoin conference there is. Today is the start of Bitcoin 2023. Now, prior years, we saw some volatility whenever this conference was being held, and last year no different, right? But we always get some exciting news out of this conference. It's definitely the biggest Bitcoin conference of them all, solely concentrated on Bitcoin only, right? Something else that I'm paying attention to is the DXY. DXY is starting to go higher, which is really strange. We went down to about 100 recently, now back up to 103, almost to 104. And of course, many are wondering if this is the reason why Bitcoin is so flat and not gaining any more strength. And that makes a lot of sense. Just look at this. The DXY correlation with Bitcoin, you clearly see when DXY goes down, which is the strength of the dollar, strength of Bitcoin goes up, right? But some people are charting the DXY and they have noticed this pattern, the head and shoulders pattern. So the DXY continues to drop because of this pattern. Well, definitely it will help Bitcoin because many people think that Bitcoin is about to make that local top in the next few months. It hasn't happened yet, but certainly could be coming. And you may be wondering, why is the DXY getting stronger? Well, here's the thing. Whenever there's fear about recession, and I'm not talking about just recession in the US, whenever there's fear about recession worldwide or economic turmoil worldwide, generally speaking, the strength of the dollar gets stronger. And that's what we're hearing once again. Even though the US is leading the way, we're seeing economic data come in softer than normal, which is what Paul wants. Somehow, I think this is also translating to DXY going up. It actually, I don't know, it doesn't make much sense, but that is what's happening right now. So we could very well see a reversal because of this pattern and then see Bitcoin go upwards. Right now I'm attending the Bitcoin 2023 conference. And I've talked to a lot of people about ordinals inscription. So far, everyone I spoke to have said that this is a good thing, that they're very excited. This opens up possibilities for Bitcoin. And it's quite refreshing because I thought I would bump into the people. Maybe I didn't talk to the right people, but the people I did talk to, they were all receptive of this. And take a look, even Microstrategy and Michael Saylor, they're looking at uses for ordinals. Remember, ordinals and inscription is not just for NFTs. You could do a lot more with it. It's just that it started with NFTs and led to memes, but still, there are a lot of use cases for this that MicroStrategy now will be exploring. Jack Dorsey is investing in a Bitcoin voucher service. This will make it easy in Latin America and Europe. You could just go in a convenience store, right? Say you want to buy some Bitcoin, they give you a voucher and you go online and then you get it, right? So it just makes everything really simple. Kind of, if you think about it, kind of replaces like Bitcoin ATMs. I mean, there are some places just, it's just very hard to find a Bitcoin ATM. And not to say that if you do, it's a good idea because usually the spreads are really far off. But, it's just another way to onboard people into Bitcoin.